Welcome to the Basketball Zone Cowbell Kingdom YouTube channel. I'm your host, Leo Bias. Today on the podcast, we have a very special guest, the man behind the Swish Factor and the NBA Never Stops Instagram accounts. You have to check them out. Nick Russo, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Leo.
Absolutely. So before we get into our topics, which are dissecting De'Aaron Fox and his season, how he's done so far, what we thought before the year, and how he's exceeded some expectations. We're also discussing the Los Angeles Lakers as a whole, Trae Young as a whole as well. We just published a behind-the-scenes kind of vlog yesterday. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it yet. But if you haven't, I highly recommend all of your viewers that will watch this after or even now to watch this vlog. We do a lot of behind-the-scenes things with individual basketball players. We get to cover every Kings game, so we get to see the best of the best every single night. And then we're also discussing Lamelo Ball. That one's going to be interesting. But the most important topic that I think that people are interested in is, how do you grow an Instagram account? How have you been so successful? So we'll get into all of that. But before we do, again, tell us a little bit about yourself and, you know, the NBA teams that you specifically follow for whatever reason that it is.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm 20 years old. I'm from Staten Island, New York. I currently go to Marist College, which is located in Poughkeepsie, New York. I'm majoring in communications and business. I've been a lifetime long Lakers fan, but just not, I'm a general NBA fan. But, I've been following the league as a whole for as long as I can remember. But huge Kobe Bryant fan growing up. Instagram was created. The NBA Never Stops in June 2017. I got the Swish Factor in September, about a month and a half ago. So yeah, I got some exciting things coming on and excited to see where the NBA season's headed.
Absolutely. So let's get to the first topic. De'Aaron Fox. I don't know how you felt about D Fox coming out of college. I know you're a Laker fan, so you're probably, I'm assuming that you're a Lonzo Ball fan. I'm a huge Lonzo Ball fan. I'm a huge D Fox fan. I thought last year's draft was really deep. I also think this year's draft has a chance to be a little bit better if things go well, because I'm not as high on Markelle Fultz anymore as I was last year. So the top 10, I think, may be better in this year's class, but the top 5 may be better in last year's class. Just talk about Fox, what you thought of him, and how you believe he's performed this season.
Yeah, so, I mean, coming out of college, Fox really reminded me of Mike Conley with, like, some John Wall speed to it. He had really impressive defensive instinct, and his physical tools are like really intriguing as a prospect coming out of college. And like Conley, I think Fox has shown an ability to improve his jump shot out of college. And in college, Conley couldn't really shoot. Now Fox has shown a capability of knocking down the 3 ball. I saw that I didn't watch the 2 games, but he's hit 6 in the past 2 games, which is pretty impressive. So I think that's a real important part going forward for him. In terms of where he stands in comparison to the other point guards, Lonzo Ball, Smith, Fultz, I hate to say it, but I would probably say he is the best currently right now.
Oh, all right.
I really, really like Lonzo. I think he's going to be a really good player. Like, I think people don't give him credit for his defense. He's shown a real knack for like being a real off-ball defender. I think he's got a really solid future. But I mean, Fox right now, like, he's shown star potential. I think Lonzo is more going to be like, kind of like, not like a Rajon Rondo in his prime, but I think he can kind of get almost to that sort of level. I think Fox really could have a chance to be like a cornerstone of your franchise, like the second guy. I think Lonzo is more of like a supporting member. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Lonzo's really good, man. And honestly, I think with LeBron being there, he obviously needs to improve his jump shot a little bit more, be more consistent with it. But his overall game, one can say that Lonzo would be a better fit on the Sixers during the playoffs because at least he's willing to take that jump shot and hit big shots, unlike Ben Simmons, who was reluctant to take even a jump shot.
Outside.
And I get he's taller, he's a little bit more athletic. But right now, call me crazy, but I'd rather have Lonzo Ball in the playoffs because, again, when the Sixers face a good team, such as the Celtics or the Raptors in the playoffs, both of those coaches, obviously one being better than the other, and Brad Stevens, are just going to game plan and just dare him to shoot the ball. You can't really do that with Lonzo Ball because Lonzo will make that shot. And this year he shot, I think he's over 40%, if I'm not mistaken. He has shot the ball ugly at times, like air balls and stuff, but it doesn't matter. If the guy can shoot 3 of 6 every night, that's a win for the Lakers. Thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I really do like Lonzo, like I said. Yeah, his shooting numbers are way more improved than he was last year. He showed his strength is really clear. He said he didn't really change his shot. He said that's all due to strength, and I would probably believe it because his post defense in particular has been really, really good, really impressive. Yeah, yeah.
Right. But going back to Fox, I've always said it's like a 1A, 1B type thing with him and Lonzo. But this year in particular, he's really stepped up. And one of the big reasons is they gave him the keys to the franchise. They gave Lonzo the keys last year, but there's a new chief in town by the name of LeBron James. And what a lot of people don't see is that there's an adjustment period that has to be made. And right now, these younger guys on the Lakers, their young core, they have to adjust and transition playing with such a great player, a guy who holds on to the ball a lot, who needs the ball in his hands. So Lonzo has to learn how to play and not really be the main ball handler, on top of having a guy like Rajon Rondo, Lance Stevenson. So there's an adjustment period. But with that said, De'Aaron Fox is, I think, the fastest point guard in the game. And if he continues to lead the Kings in this fast-paced octane offense, they're going to be super fun to watch. And he has more of that knack to score than Lonzo. Lonzo's a little bit different where he likes to defend and share the ball. Not saying that Fox can't share the ball because he does, but there are different basketball players. They're both effective in their own way. But as of right now, you're right. De'Aaron Fox has been better. He may have the higher ceiling because he's more of the modern, right, point guard who can score and pass, but Lonzo is more of a pass first, then score type of guy. So I definitely see the pros and cons to both. But if they both can shoot the ball consistently, then we're just going to have a great league for the next decade. And even when LeBron leaves, the NBA is in great hands. So many young stars in this league. One of those point guards that came out this year, Trae Young. Talk about him a little bit. What did you think of him coming out? What have you thought about him so far this season?
Yeah, so I posted yesterday on the Swish Factor why I think Young, if he hasn't shown already, why he obviously is not going to be a bust.
Right.
Like the comparisons to Steph is obviously ridiculous. But I also think the comparisons to Jimmer are ridiculous because I think he's way more complete of a player than Jimmer was coming into the NBA, which leads me to another point I was going to make. Shout out to the Kings with their new regime under Divac because he's done a way better job than their regime before, like drafting of Papa Giannis and Thomas Robinson. And now they have Bagley, Fox, traded for Hield, which was like a clear win in hindsight of the Cousins trade.
Right.
But back to Young. I mean, he isn't just a shooter because clearly he's shown an ability to play make. He's averaging, I believe, the sixth highest in points and assists per game this season, ahead of LeBron. So I mean, like that. Yes, like he has so much opportunity, but like that's not an accident. And he's also he has a real knack of drawing fouls. Like he knows how to get to the line, especially in crucial moments. I saw a stat that said he's one of 7 rookies in NBA history that averages about 5 free throw attempts per game while also dishing out 7.5 or more assists per game. And he joins company with like Pistons, Isaiah Thomas, and John Wall. So, I mean, I really like Young, honestly.
I agree 100% with you. I believe Trae Young is a straight baller. If he wasn't 6'1", 6'2", I
Yeah.
would have had him right next to Luka Doncic, who I believe is one of the best prospects we've seen offensively in the last 20 years. I think they're very similar in so many ways, but obviously Luka having a 7-inch advantage matters, and it just allows him to be more versatile. It allows the Mavericks to use him in way more positions and more lineups. But I applaud the Hawks for taking that risk. I would have dropped a Luka #1, but they did get another first-round pick from the Mavericks, and who knows? Maybe they don't make the playoffs this year, and maybe they're one of the top 3 worst teams in the West, and they get a top 10 pick out of it. We don't know what's going to happen, but they were so convinced with Trae Young that they gave up Luka Doncic when he fell to their laps. And at the very minimum, it's a bold move. And like Travis Schlenk, their GM, who came from the Golden State Warriors, I just thought it was funny that he drafted 3 guys who are so similar to the 3 guys that they drafted, and Steph, Clay, and Draymond with Trae Young, the shooter. I'm flipping on his name, and then Spates from the Champions, right? Jesus, I know all these dudes' names, and I'm slipping on their names right now. Kevin something, the shooting guard, and then the big man from he was Josh Hart's teammate in college. So definitely he went that route. He wanted guys who were very similar to the big 3 in Golden State, and who knows if it ever works out, man. But I like the direction that the young Hawks are doing. They signed Vince Carter over the offseason. They kind of did what the Kings did last year. They brought in this awesome presence, a guy who all of us looked up to him growing up, right? Like, we know Vince Andy as the living legend, and me having the privilege to talk to him all of last year, and just him walking around was like, oh my God, like this dude is Vince Carter. And believe it or not, he is still more athletic than most of these guys in the NBA. He just doesn't show it on a.
I saw the other day of him doing a. He went up for a dunk, and he realized he couldn't. Right. And he forgot how his age, and he switched to a layup in midair. Pretty sad to watch, but I love Vince growing up.
I agree. One last thing on Trae Young, it's he's one of 4 rookies who scored 35 points, and I mentioned that in my Trae Young vlog yesterday. LeBron James, Steph Curry, Jason Kidd were the other 3 guys, and that's a pretty elite company. So yeah. I'm pretty high on Trae Young. I think he's going to be a marvelous offensive player. Obviously, he'll always be a minus on defense, but it's okay because James Harden is a minus on defense. Steph Curry is a minus on defense.
LeBron James is a minus on defense.
LeBron James is a minus on defense. So let's not get carried away and act like offense is not where the league is at now, and will continue to head. I mean, every team is averaging 115 points, it seems like, right? So he definitely fits the mold of today's NBA. Any final thoughts on Trae Young?
I agreed with your point that I think it was definitely a ballsy move to pass up on Doncic, just because, the Mavericks are playing him at power forward right now, which is, he's a ball handling power forward,
right?
That's just very valuable in today's NBA, and he can shoot. That's not an issue with him. So I probably wouldn't have picked Young over Doncic, but credit to the Hawks, they did get a 2019 first round pick. So that kind of reminded me of the Markelle Fultz, Jason Tatum,
right?
That Danny Ainge pulled off. So I guess you never really know what's gonna happen.
But the only difference is that the Celtics got the extra pick and they got the better player.
Yeah. Yes. Shout out for I don't know what they're doing with Fultz. I don't get it.
I don't either, man. And I'm hoping for the best. He was very explosive in college. Obviously, with that injury, hasn't helped his cause. I still have faith, though. There's still a part of me that sees that player, that explosive player in college, and it's only a matter of time. I'm hoping because that franchise really needs him to really step up and be that third piece to that awesome tandem that they already have, right? So let's talk about your Instagram account. How do you go about it on a daily basis? Just what's the key? What's the biggest key, would you say, in growing a very sustainable Instagram account?
Well, consistency is 100% the biggest thing when it comes to sustainability. Um, I mean, life happens, and sometimes like I can't post as much as I would like during a day. I aim to post about 5 or 6 times a day. Um, but if there's a day where I'm busy and I can only post once, you see a very clear correlation between your growth and the amount that you post, at least that I've seen. Um, but like for growing, like it really is just, I feel how much effort you put into it. The algorithm is like always changing. Instagram is constantly changing it. So like um, dedicating time to knowing what the algorithm is and understanding it. For example, like knowing if hashtags are a thing, um, what time you need to post. You need to know all these things if you really want to like grow at a rapid and consistent basis. So yeah, I would definitely say like consistency is number one, and two, like you need to want to do it, because if you're half fasting anything, you're not gonna it's not gonna work out.
So are hashtags a thing?
Hashtags seem to be a thing right now. I've been doing like 3 lines of hashtags, and I've been getting a lot more impressions than I was um, before the algorithm changed. So yeah, hashtags I would definitely recommend at the moment. Um, for like any startup accounts, I would say there's no like right way to grow. Like you need to like really, you know, get yourself out there, because like no one is going to come and find your account. So for example, like when I started the NBA Never Stops, um, I had no like connections with anyone. Um, I really just made a point to get out, like do bigger accounts, ask if they need help with anything, collaboration, um, giveaways, like literally anything, commenting on popular posts, something that you think would get people's attention, nothing stupid,
Right.
but like, like a good comment, you get people's attention, and the people will come to you. And if you post good content, people will flock.
So how did you grow your Instagram account?
So like I said, in the beginning for the NBA Never Stops, I was really looking for any way to grow. So I would post probably about, again, 5 times a day. That really hasn't changed since. That's been like the one constant. Um, I used to go down the lists of like followers of heavily followed accounts. I would just follow people. I would message people, hey, check me out. Um, and it comes. So, and once it comes, like the domino effect begins, um, I lost my train of thought. Something I used to do to get attention of bigger accounts to repost you. I used to, so say for example, I'm posting about De'Aaron Fox.
Right.
I will tag about 9, 10 accounts related to the Kings, Kentucky basketball, um, a De'Aaron Fox fan page, in hopes that they will see it and repost it. And that like truly works. Like once I posted about Skip Bayless's like top 10 players of all time, and I
Right.
tagged Shaq, and Shaq reposted it. Carmelo Anthony, I've tagged him, like we'll reply. Hoops Nation, um, Basketball Vines, all those huge accounts, like they will look at what they're tagged in, and if they like your content, they will repost it, and that in and of itself is like a shout out. Like I never actually paid for anything.
Right.
It was just constant grinding, like yeah. But I would definitely suggest, like, if you following like your followers, getting involved with the community is also something really important.
So always commenting, or
Always
at
comment.
least try to comment to all your comments. Not acting like you're too big, you're too cool, because at the end of the day, those are your fans. Those are the people who follow you and love your work. So try to make that into a thing where you must at least show that you care, and that's a way of giving back, right? Commenting to your following.
Yeah, commenting is, and actually, I'm not sure if this is still a thing with the algorithm, but it was for quite some time, where literally, like, the more that you responded to a follower in your comments, the algorithm would boost your viewage. So that really was important, and like it needed to be like a legitimate comment. Like I think it was 3 or more words. I'm not sure if that's still a thing.
So real engagement, like you having a real conversation with your people.
Right. Real engagement is the ideal and like perfect way to put it. That is exactly what they're looking for. They're looking for organic growth, real relationships between you and your followers, because that's what Instagram is really trying to promote. So if the algorithm senses that that's what you're doing, you will make the explore page, which is ultimately like the goal in every post, because that's where you will gain your followers.
Right. And I think that's where, we obviously we're not as big as you guys, but when we first started Cowbell on Instagram, being on the explore page was big. And something that Instagram took away, which kind of hurt us, was you used to be able to tag your location at live, NBA games. And, say it was Kings Lakers or Kings Warriors, you would tag that location, and that would guarantee you being on the explore page, and they would get you so many views. You were getting like 700,000 views. Obviously everyone wouldn't follow, but I just thought that was so cool. And then they don't have that anymore, so that's where we kind of stopped growing in some sense. Obviously we're still big enough here locally where everyone knows us and appreciate the work that we do for them. But yeah, as far as like scaling, that when that stopped, that did hurt us. But again, I'm glad you're telling us that there are other ways. Obviously engaging, always commenting. Certain hashtags. Are there certain hashtags that you use for specific basketball accounts?
I really don't. Like, again, like if I said, like, when I mentioned posting about Fox, I would tag like Kings accounts. I would usually just do like hashtag De'Aaron Fox, hashtag Kings, hashtag Sacramento Kings. I would really just try to squeeze in like any hashtag that I can get, and I really do think that is working right now. And like you said, like that's something that really worked back then, and it is just about adjusting, because if you're not adjusting, then you'll become stagnant. So
are there certain pages that you keep up with in terms of knowing what the algorithm is going to be like? Certain blogs or websites that tell you about these type of things, or is it something that you just notice? I mean, in terms of trends.
I mean, the hashtags thing is something I was just like growth was slowing down, and I really didn't know what to do. So I was just like, let me try this. But I mean, YouTube, just taking advantage of the internet in general, like Google, best friend. Like people out there really look into these things, so you should take advantage of your resources. There's some really, really intelligent people out there that like this is their life. So people, like, that's something you need to take advantage of. There's a really I don't remember any specific names, unfortunately, but there are some really talented people on YouTube that will like literally outline to you like what you need to do, and it definitely works.
Right on. So before we continue and move on to another topic, I do want to let you guys know that you guys can go to any sports event, any concert, and use our code COWBELL to get $20 off your purchase, y'all. That means if you're a Laker fan, a Celtics fan, a Kings fan, whatever it is, use the code COWBELL and get $20 off. More information link in the bio or in our description. Click on the link. Just go on SeatGeek.com and then use the code COWBELL. Also, that's it. So the last topic that I want to talk about is Lamelo Ball. It's a hot topic with the news breaking today that he's coming back to high school basketball. Before I get into my spiel and my rant, because one of my best friends, Manny, he texted me. He was like, "Well, you were wrong, and I was right about his stint in Europe or going to Europe. The decision of going to Europe being a mistake."
Mhm.
And I'll clarify that, but first, give me your thoughts on just his overall decision and of coming back to the United States of America.
Definitely think it's the right one. Um, I read before that he's going to, I believe, Sprint. I
Some
believe.
school in Ohio, yeah.
Yeah, and he's joining forces with the internet sensation, the 7'7" kid. I don't remember his name, Robert something, but that'll be just fun to watch. But I mean, just in terms of like making the NBA and maximizing where he's going to, improve as a player, I definitely don't think the JBA was the answer to that. Um, I mean, and Lithuania, he wasn't getting playing time except in
Right.
the big smaller like showcase games. So, I mean, just naturally going to a basketball centric high school will just get him back on track. I'm sure they have a good program there, good coaches. Um, but I think this was definitely just the right decision just because the JBA simply is, he's not playing like competitive. I mean, I guess it's competitive basketball, but it's not the same as it would have been in Lithuania, which I think would have worked out, but he just wasn't playing. And in high school, at least, it's just like, yeah, he will be playing, and he's in the spotlight of like high school United States basketball, I guess.
Right. And see, that was an argument that Manny and I had was I believed it was the right move for the big baller brand just in general to take LaMelo to Europe because obviously they were trying to kill two birds with one stone. And they killed one bird for sure, and that was expanding their brand globally. They did a marvelous job. They're known everywhere now. And the other one was LaMelo being able to perform at a high level in Division I European basketball. That didn't happen. Their goal was for a big club like a Real Madrid or one of the Turkish clubs, Fenerbahce, to sign LaMelo. And I told Manny, I said, I believe it's the right move. He said he should have stayed in high school. I said, no. If in fact he fails, we'll know and kind of solidify the fact that these high school kids are not better than these grown men in Europe. So that argument needs to stop, right? Like, if he would have performed at a high level and just gotten playing time just in general, that would have been a great sign for the growth of just high schoolers. But it showed that he's not ready for that level yet.
No.
Everyone is not Luka Doncic. That shows how much better Luka Doncic is and why he's one of the best prospects to ever come out in the past 20 years offensively. So
He's special.
So that just shows that, I mean, I wasn't wrong in the strategy and decision of going to Europe. I was wrong in the execution because I did think LaMelo was good enough. I was wrong on that end. But if LaMelo's not good enough, that also probably signifies that Greg Anthony's kid is not good enough, right? Or most of the top 10 kids in his class are not good enough because if LaMelo wasn't able to play in Lithuania, these kids for sure are not playing in Turkey or in Spain. So that shows the differences in level of competition and in just overall IQ. As we know, athleticism is a priority in the States, but in Europe, it's basketball IQ, passing, shooting, those type of things.
Right. I mean,
Thoughts before I keep going on my rant?
no, I think that's the point that you just made at the end about like the difference between European and United States basketball. I mean, just looking at, like, again, Kobe. I'm a huge Kobe fan. Kobe
Right.
grew
Me
up in
too.
Italy for a good portion of his life, and he always credited, like, if it wasn't for Europe, like, he wouldn't have been such a fundamentally sound player. Like his footwork, everyone knows is practically impeccable. Um, so yeah, I think Lamelo probably came to a place in Lithuania where he really was just playing at, I forget the name of his high school, Chino Hills. It was
Right.
just like fast break basketball. Like, literally in that huge game that he had, it was highlight after highlight of rebounds and throwing the ball all the way down the court. Like, that's not basketball. That's especially European basketball when they're fundamentals, and it's not really predicated on athleticism. So I think I hope he took advantage of his time there and he didn't just sulk and
Right.
not playing. He really probably could have taken something out of it. I'm sure he did, but I think the move back to the United States, like, it had to be done if he plans on playing professional basketball, particularly in the NBA.
Yeah, and I'll say this. At least now he has that chip on his shoulder because he's going to come in with a lot of pressure that he was a failure. And most of these kids that he's going to go, I think one of the feature matchups is him against Anthony, right? One of the other top recruits. So now it's like at least he knows that he needs to work on his game. And he was very good in the Division II games where it was like the big baller showcase games, and that's where he played well. But again, he was playing against guys his age, and it goes back to my argument with Manny. I said, look, if he can perform in Division I European basketball, that'll be the best thing to get him into the NBA. That didn't happen. He performed well with Division II. But if you're performing well with Division II, you might as well go back to the US and play kids in your own country, because at least then more scouts will go watch you play. Nobody wants to go to Lithuania to watch a Division II basketball game. Let's just keep it real. You know what I mean? So if he was playing D1 in Spain and Turkey, scouts will go to those games. There's scouts everywhere. And it just happened that he simply wasn't good enough to play Division I European basketball in Lithuania, and he couldn't make that jump for the bigger clubs to go out and sign him. So when they say, was it a failure of a trip? I think it was great for the brand. And now I feel like he's going to be even better. So in some sense, he was so young at the time that he still had time to make mistakes. And now he can learn from those mistakes and come back and flat out ball against kids his age. Now, I think the next route for him is going to the NBA G League right after high school, because I believe he was when he started promoting the shoe, he's no longer eligible to play college basketball, right?
Nope.
So he's gonna have to take that route and going to the G League, and that's a whole nother story of them stealing LeVar's idea, which I don't know if we want to get into it, but they are playing. So actually, I do want to get into it. How would you approach that? From because I'm Stockton, where I'm originally from, they just got the Stockton Kings, who are the D League affiliate of the Sacramento Kings. How do you decipher and decide which D League team can get the top recruits out of high school?
I was thinking about that myself. I'm I don't know. I haven't looked into it entirely, about like what the logistics is and what they're going to do about high school players going to the G League. But yeah, like it's like say a high school recruit does go to the Stockton Kings, you said, like, usually you can call up that player. Obviously, that you can't do that. I don't know, but and again, like they'll be playing grown men in the G League, so I mean they'll be getting a lot better. They'll be getting great training, some real NBA experience, but it's going to be a struggle for a lot of those kids. I mean, Andre Ingram was just in the G League last year, and he's a real grown man. So, like, I would probably still prefer, if I was somehow going into the NBA, I probably would just go to college and play D1 basketball. But
Okay, so you're taking the money under the table and not legally.
yeah, it's funny. I just wrote a paper on all that whole
Really?
college.
So
So
what was your thesis on that?
well, it was an essay on about like the question was like asking like show an example of how like sports has become all about money, and I was showing examples of how college basketball, which was like the main thing about college basketball is it's all about like the passion and like the love for the game, and NCAA is a nonprofit organization. So I was just saying how like all those cases with like Dennis Smith and DeAndre Ayton and all those colleges, like yeah, I get that shows that money is like a real factor when it shouldn't be. It's just corrupt, simply put.
Right, right. And people are asking you, should the Kings try and trade for Jimmy Butler? Would you do it, Nick?
Oh man, did you see that video of some guy walking into Jimmy Butler playing one-on-one with
I
someone and he
did.
said,
That was hilarious.
the Kings? That was hysterical.
That was
I
before he knew the Kings were good, right?
yeah, yeah. I would not trade for Jimmy Butler if I was the Kings for two reasons. One, he's definitely not looking to resign, I would think. I mean, I don't. I've actually met Butler twice. Coolest dude in the world, like so awesome. But his logic to me with the teams that he chose, that he's like, he said he has a preference to go to the Heat, the Clippers, the Nets, doesn't really align with his constant like talk about how much he wants to win. Doesn't really. So he clearly has shown that he values the marketing of his brand and being the guy. So in Sacramento, he would be the guy. He would be the main piece, the marketable piece. But it seems that he really wants to go to a city like a New York, a Los Angeles. So if I was the Kings, I would not give away like a young piece like Bogdanovich or Bagley, whoever it would be to get the deal done. I just don't think it's worth it. On the other hand, I do think the Lakers should have given up young pieces to get Kawhi Leonard. But
Right.
that's another topic.
So would you give up? No, I mean, we actually never talked about the Lakers, and that was one of the topics real fast before we let you go, because I know you're on a timetable. But I love that core of Ingram, Lonzo, and Kuzma. Would you give up one of those pieces, right, or two of those pieces to get a Jimmy Butler?
For Butler, no, because it seems that he doesn't want to be the co-star. And I remember Woj came out with a report saying that when LeBron joined the Lakers, he lost an interest. I don't know why I just blanked. He lost an interest. So I would not, in that particular case, trade for Butler. However, I do think they should have traded for Paul George. I do think they should have traded for Kawhi. And I mentioned the second reason I didn't get to it, why the Kings and the Lakers shouldn't trade for Butler, is because Tom Thibodeau players don't really have a good track with third contracts. Joakim Noah, Derrick Rose, so because there's so much mileage, that they go through with Thibodeau. So I think Butler will probably be the most sustainable out of Rose and Noah, but I think he's definitely going to take a hit. The minutes will get to him eventually. Like Father Time is undefeated. But back to the Lakers, like they very easily could have had Paul George. Like he's come out and said if they traded for him, they would have had him, and like he would have stayed. He never would have, considered it. And he said he really credited like Oklahoma City's belief in him and like that risk to get him is why he stayed. So I think I remember they had a chance to trade Ingram for him. I like Ingram. I like Ingram a lot. But sometimes I don't. I think in our generation, we really overvalue young players.
Okay.
There's like, I think like Jason Tatum and those guys, like those are the young guys you do not trade under any circumstance. Like those are like generational pieces.
So you think Tatum's that much better than Ingram?
Oh, yeah. I think Brandon Ingram is very good, but it's cliche, and I hate to be that guy, but I don't think he has like the dog in him.
You don't think it's situational? Where if Ingram would have came into that system, into that environment, into that winning environment, Ingram came into
Right.
the worst time in like Laker history.
No, that's a good point, and I think that's a fair point. I don't know. I just think
You're right. You're pretty much, you know what we know, right? We know Tatum proved that he can do it in the playoffs. We have yet to see it from Ingram, so that's where you're that's where you're basing it off. But in terms of talent, I mean, Ingram has it all. Like I don't see why he can't be that type of guy as well. But you're right, he may never be that guy, and a lot of the times, your success is predicated on the situation and the environment that you're in.
I would attribute why I don't think he will take the superstar leap. I think he will be an all-star. I mean, his shot is good. It's improved, definitely, but his three-point shot is still unreliable. An issue with the Lakers' young core is their free throw shooting. Hart, Lonzo, Kuzma, Ingram, like literally all of them are not, above average free throw shooters. Even though I think statistically Lonzo might be above average right now, technically, but I think he'll revert to mean. I just think with the Lakers' young core, I think they all are going to be really good players. Maybe like one-time, two-time All-Stars. I don't think they are like superstars. And I think when you have a chance to trade for someone like Kawhi, and you have a real chance to convince him to stay, I just think you do it. I think you can get someone like Kuzma again. Like
I agree.
Kuzma 27th and Hart 30th. Like they clearly have a knack for drafting late in the draft. So I just think when you have a chance to trade for a Kawhi and Paul George back then, and eventually obviously team him up with LeBron, like you have to do that. I just feel like that's just my stance.
Right. I agree. I mean, when you talk about a top 3 player in Kawhi Leonard, a superstar, the best two-way player in the game, you just have to pull the trigger. On Jimmy Butler, I would be skeptical of it, but at the same time, he is to me a top 10 player, or at least a top 12 player. That's always going to be subjective, right? But his impact is real, and you could tell when he when he got injured in that Rockets game, and the T-Wolves just fell off the map, and they almost didn't make the playoffs. He literally had to come back from his injury early and save their season and save and save them from like being untied with the Kings in the most drought and not making the playoffs. And I do want to go back to the Hawks. His name is Kevin Huerter. It just came back to me right now.
Oh, that's right.
So Kevin Huerter, I think obviously that Klay Thompson 6'7" shooter. So again, Kevin Huerter, Trae Young, and Spellman.
That's Taurean Prince. He's a good piece. He wasn't drafted.
Yeah, Prince is a good piece, but I think it's Spellman. It's Omari Spellman from Villanova. Played with Josh Hart. Played with with Brunson, and I just feel like they think he may be their Draymond Green. I think the only one that has a true chance, though, to be an all-star is Trae Young. And I hope he does, because that gives a lot of the guys like you and I who are not 6'8", can jump 40 inches. We can identify with the Steph Curry type players, right? And that's a direction where the NBA is headed. That's why they've changed the rules so much. They value shooting. So little kids out there watching this, or if you watch this in the future, 10 years from now, learn how to shoot the ball, okay? That is very important, my man. But other than that, any final words? I know you have to go. We're on a tight schedule right now. Thank you so much, by the way. But any final thoughts?
If you don't already, it would be really appreciated if you follow me on Instagram. My original account at the NBA never stops, and now my second account at the Swish Factor. You love the NBA in general, like I'm your guy, so I would really appreciate it.
There you guys go. Follow my man right now. I will have the links. I have the link to the Switch Factor account. I will update it for his other account. The NBA never stops. And that's a real thing. Ball is life, and the NBA really never stops. And you guys have to follow him right now. I appreciate you guys. And for the people that are listening to this in the audio version after this on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, whatever it is, we would really appreciate if you guys left us a review and let us know if you like the show, if you like the guests. If you don't, it doesn't matter. We just want to improve and give you guys the best product possible. Thank you guys so much. And again, you guys got to follow us as well. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want daily NBA news. We're covering our main specialty, obviously, is the Kings because we're here in Sacramento, but we do travel and we do cover other NBA teams, giving you that behind the scenes look. And hopefully, Nick and I can partner up on a collaboration giveaway, which I think will happen later this week or maybe next week. We'll talk about it. Definitely follow him, and maybe he makes a YouTube channel, or maybe we can collaborate on more podcasts together, because I definitely enjoyed this, Nick. Again, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, of course.
And I will have to bring you on very soon again.
For sure. I will definitely be down.
All right, my man. Thank you guys so much. Again, guys, on behalf of the entire CK team, have a great one.